Hi everyone, welcome back to Project No Buy. Today's video is going to be an exploration of a viewer question about clothing rentals and what it exposes about my own consumer narratives. Okay, so I got this question a few months ago, and it is a direct question, so I am staying true to my word of not sharing these comments unless it's a direct request for a response. The question goes as follows. I'd like to know your thoughts on renting clothes through monthly subscriptions like Rent the Runway or Nuuly. And I did respond to this 3 months ago, so I didn't leave this person hanging for all this time. But I have had some kind of more recent developments and thoughts, and kind of as a result of reading some of these books in the past month and kind of exposing my own consumer narratives, my own kind of myths that I believe, especially in Consumed. She talks directly, Asia Barber, the author, talks directly about this, where we have these beliefs that make us have these consumer choices, makes us choose what we buy in a way that's not always constructive to more conscious choice or better options, I guess, supporting better things. And I'm going to get to that more directly, but let me get back to the question first and my initial response. So first of all, I have not tried clothing rentals. So I'm not speaking from personal experience in terms of actually interacting with the services, and nor am I saying that I would never try them with this video, right? I'm not ruling it out, never say never. That's always good practice. You never know what circumstances may change, what your views may do with more information. And I can see why it might be a great option, the perfect fit really for some people. If newness is something that they really enjoy in their wardrobe and the ability to get that through a rotating clothing service and it's something that they can budget for comfortably, then it really does seem like the perfect option. I do have a friend who uses it and has a monthly subscription, I guess, and gets a few new pieces every month, and it serves her really well, especially for things like events where she's able to get a different dress for, let's just say she has an event every month. She might actually have more than that because of her lifestyle, and it enables her to have some new things to wear that are not having as great of an impact on the planet or on her wallet. Ultimately, she doesn't have to bring these things in, she doesn't have to store them, and these are things that are reused multiple times by multiple different people. So on that note, I think it's a really great idea if it fits your lifestyle, fits your wardrobe needs. And so part of my response to this comment was that if someone is planning to spend $100 a month on clothes regardless, I would say that the better solution is to rent rather than buy. So in other words, if you have, the number is arbitrary, but if you have a line item for clothing in your monthly budget, then I do see the merit in spending that on a rental subscription where you don't actually own the clothing. And, this is not the same as how we don't really own digital media or art anymore. There's a lot of problems with that. And you can see videos about that online where, the subscription model of society is kind of problematic when you can no longer own your favorite movies and music and books and whatever. So this is, to me, not the same. Clothing is a different category of consumer goods than kind of digital media. So not to be confused with saying that subscription models are positive for everything. But I can actually see part of the merits in not having to own all of your digital media as well. So again, multifaceted issues here. But I do think that in some lifestyles, for some lifestyles, the rental cycle can eliminate the buy declutter cycle, right? Like if that's how you operate with your wardrobe, buying, decluttering, or buying, donating, passing on, whatever you do there, then renting might be the perfect solution for you or for those influencers with their crazy declutter videos. So I do like the idea for those reasons. However, there are also reasons that I don't want to pursue it for myself, at least right now. And one of those reasons is that I'm still fighting that desire for wanting newness. I don't want to be somebody that constantly wants newness in my wardrobe. I would rather be somebody who has creative fun exploring through the options that I have. And that being said, I do have a relatively large wardrobe. At the time of filming this video, my smart closet item count total is 196. And it started even higher than that. I've been kind of slowly paring down, but it is still a lot of clothing. And I am slowly reaching a point where I'm decluttering less and less and may have reached a little bit of a stasis as far as having more than I need, but also kind of leaning into that or really slowly evaluating it, tending to put things away because I have the underbed storage or whatever, places to put these things, and use that as a kind of safeguard, right? So I have additional options for if that urge of newness strikes. I've already consumed the clothing as far as buying it and bringing it into my life. And so to have the least impact on further consumption, further resources, the most sustainable thing to do is to have what I have and use what I have, to keep what I have and use it. And so I'm not pursuing this arbitrary number of only having X amount of clothing pieces, although I am interested in entertaining that idea, even if temporarily, really trying a capsule wardrobe again, just to see how it feels, because I do accept that on some level I can't really feel what it's like until I just do it and jump in. I talked about that for one of my April Fool's videos, how I pretended that I'd done that, but I do intend to do that with intention, either over the summer or maybe when my work season starts up again and I have to dress up to go out of the house again. Maybe I will plan a 30-piece capsule for the next 3 months of work, first 3 months of work, and just see how it feels. And if it feels better, if it feels like I can dress more stylishly and creatively, and ultimately fight that urge for newness is my ultimate goal. I don't want to want new clothes every few months or every month, right? I don't want to rely on novelty to enjoy or be fulfilled by my wardrobe. I also am apprehensive about the exposure to things that I both do and don't like. And so if I were to rent clothes, I might come across things that I really, really love and am tempted to buy and have justification to buy because I've already tried them and loved them and can kind of talk myself into how it fills a gap in my wardrobe or adds so much of this or enables me to do this or whatever it might be, or maybe I don't have anything like it, whatever it is, right? If I like a piece that I get in a rental, I wonder if I might be more likely to buy it. And if I get pieces that I don't like in a rental, will it start the search for something like it but better, which has happened to me in the past, right? If I have something that just has a little flaw but I like the rest of it, sometimes that used to send me going to the resale apps, especially was where I used to do a lot of this kind of swapping out the revolving door of like, oh, I really like this sweater, but I don't know if the color is right. Okay, so this did actually just happen to me and I did not act on it at all, but I wore this pink sweater in my last video, right? Like the April update. It's kind of one of my spring sweaters. It's lighter weight, it's pink. And the last time I wore it, I took it off. I was wearing it with some black jeans to work. This was not in the video, I was wearing blue jeans, but when I wore it out, I was wearing it with black jeans to work and pink shoes, and something just felt off. I just don't think pairing it with black was the right move, actually. Like, I liked the sweater, actually, and wearing it with blue jeans felt a lot better. But I was starting to go down that path of, I really like this sweater. I like everything about it except the color right now. And I was starting to look on the resale apps for what is available with no intention to buy. And I saw that it's available in blue and green and yellow and other colors. And the blue one was starting to catch my eye a little bit. And I started thinking like, oh, I do have a blue sweater that I decided to store in that same shade because it's the same brand. And what if I just got this blue version of this pink one, and then I could resell the pink and the blue sweater and replace two with one, have the right version for me. And, I was into the justification realm hard because of this one detail that I didn't like about an article of clothing. And yes, I own the sweater. Maybe it's different if you're just renting something and you just don't like one small aspect, but I could see how for me, it could still lead to that journey of like, oh, I really like this, but does it come in another color? Like I could see that happening and kind of repositioning myself in that realm of clothing consumerism. And so for those reasons, those are some of the reasons that I commented 3 months ago. I have uncovered even more reasons that trying something like a clothing rental is not something comfortable in my mind, and I'll get into those reasons next. Okay, so pulling from my most recent journaling, one of the reasons is actually something that I covered 3 months ago. So it's the benefit in terms of having new clothes all the time, which is kind of the opposite of how I want to operate, also the opposite of how I want to look. So I want to pursue more of that signature style where I wear the same things very often enough for people to know that I wear these things, if that makes sense. And there are certain pieces that people know that I have, right? Like part of this is because they're distinctive, but every time I wear my bright blue sweater, I get comments, oh, it's the blue sweater and the bright blue. Oh, I like that sweater. Or, Cookie Monster today, whatever it is. I get comments on that sweater. You look cozy is another one. And I like that a lot. And it comes out every year, and people, I don't know if they remember it from previous years, but during the season of winter, I'm wearing it enough that people are like, it's the blue sweater. And I enjoy that. I like having the signature color. I like having the identifiable item, like, oh, it's Alexa in her cozy sweater. And I want to pursue more of that. In the week that I played in the front stand of my section, the principal violist has a pair of cowboy boots, and he knows that I have some too, because they're kind of a distinctive item, right? And so on one of the days, the first day we accidentally matched because he wore a pink button-up shirt and I wore pink shoes and a rainbow striped button-up shirt, like pastel. And so we were kind of like Easter themed pastel colors together with the pink shoes and pink shirt, and other people were kind of commenting on this. It's like, oh, how did you end up matching? And so he said he was going to wear his cowboy boots the next day and that I could do mine as well if I wanted. And again, he knew I had cowboy boots because I wear them enough and they're fairly distinctive. And so I would love for more of my wardrobe to be like that. And it really doesn't take a lot of clothing to have a lot of options, but it is somehow joyful, at least in my mind, to be kind of known for aspects of my style. And, these people might not think it's style per se. Most people dress very functionally around here where I live, but it still feels more stylish in my mind when people know that you wear these things, or they associate that with you. They know that you have these shoes that match what they have. It's kind of a community thing as well on some level. Or it becomes like that when people have kind of shared aspects of style. Or if not style, then, choices of clothing. It doesn't have to be style. We don't want to go there. And I guess in both of the cities that I most recently lived, cowboy boots are kind of, I don't want to say a hallmark of the style, but, for reference, I used to live in Texas, cowboy boots, yeehaw. And I now live in the Midwest, kind of in a smaller city. And so it is kind of more of a rural cowboy boots yeehaw vibe. So it is locational as well. The other thing regarding this aspect of signature style or destination in my wardrobe of not wanting things, in one of the books that Elizabeth L. Klein wrote, I think The Conscious Closet, I started reading it and then put it aside to revisit in June. She talks about how there's 3 different style personas, or wardrobe personas, sorry. The minimalists, the traditionalists, and the style seekers. And so, let's see. The minimalists are more capsule-oriented, right, with fewer pieces, maintaining simplicity. The traditionalists might like to bring in 1 or 2 pieces per year or per season and kind of, gently engage. And then the style seekers are really into the trends, and so they appreciate the novelty, having the new options. And for the style seekers, it really seems like renting would make the most sense if that's an aspect of your wardrobe persona. And again, I'll revisit that in June when I read the book in full. This is The Conscious Closet by Elizabeth L. Klein. The second point kind of goes along with that first point, and that is that I already have enough clothes to make it look like I have new clothes all the time to the average person who doesn't see me every day or at home. And, having 196 pieces of clothing that I can rotate through, I could wear something different every day for multiple years, I'm sure, in different combinations. And this is why I just don't even feel the need to consider clothing rentals, because there's something in my logical mind that's like, you don't need more clothing options. You have things for every occasion possible. If you feel like you don't, you do. There's something to work through there, because there's no temperature situation, there's no occasion, there's no event level of formality that I don't have something to do the job for. And if I don't want to wear what I have, then I'm still in the stage where I need to examine that and I need to move forward. I need to be in control of my urges and impulses. And until I have worked through all of that, I just don't feel like it's the move for me to consider clothing rental for myself. I feel like it would be going against my goals. It would be encouraging me to not think as deeply about these things. And I'm just not there yet. And again, no shade to you if you love clothing rentals and you are there and it works for you. That's not the purpose of making this video. I'm not trying to advocate against clothing rentals. I'm just saying this is why I am not doing it at this time in my life. There's just something about it that feels a little excessive when there's a lot of pieces I can even think about on the top of my head that I want to wear, but I don't wear enough. And so why would I bring other new things into my life when I don't wear my blue striped tube top or my lavender blazer as much as I want to be wearing them, right? It just decreases the opportunities I have to wear the things that I want to wear from my own closet. Now, the third reason is the most controversial, the most spicy, and the sign that my brain has been, as they say, as the alphas say, my brain has been cooked. I'm cooked. I think I might be using that wrong. I'm a millennial, so I'm old, okay? But I'm reminded of that decluttering video again where somebody said that they were too old to wear crop tops at the age of 24. And so I don't think you're ever too old to do anything, right? I'm not too old to try to engage with Gen Alpha language and get it wrong. And just poking fun of myself here. Let's move on. The third reason that I am not comfortable mentally with the idea of trying a wardrobe subscription, clothing subscription rental, is that it feels like it's for rich people. And again, no offense intended with this statement. And I also recognize that to a lot of people out there, I'm a rich person. And part of how I don't feel it, part of why I don't feel it right now, is that it's a fairly recent circumstance that I've come into as far as this is the first house that I've had part ownership of. This is the first time that I've had joint household income of what it is now. I can't fully disclose the details, but this is the highest income level that my household has earned. This is the most supported I've ever been as far as having family that lives in the same city, in the same house even, and having a village of people to help and enable me to do the things that I want to do, make these videos, go do work, play extra gigs, etc. And so I acknowledge that I am rich, but there are various narratives in society and various things about how I grew up that have made me believe and feel deeply that I am not rich and that I don't have the money for things like this. And again, this is where I come back to the book Consumed, because she talks about this specifically and how she felt the same. I really related to how she was talking about this and how she thought in her family that they weren't rich enough for certain things as well. And there were times that she felt like she didn't have enough money to buy the nicer version of something, when in reality, she had been conditioned to overconsume fast fashion at certain points of her life. And that's something we need to unlearn or not give into or, not tolerate being pushed on us as consumers. And again, I'm not trying to put words in her mouth here. Asia Barber is a very active activist, I guess. Very active activist. She's an expert on the intersection of fashion, climate change, and social justice, reading from her bio here. And so you can find various sources of things that she's written, or you can even read this book for yourself if you want. But I really relate to that idea of just not feeling my level of privilege for what it really is. And it's not even going global scale here of my level of privilege just having a comfortable house and running water and the ability to buy things that I want and don't need, compared to somebody living in the global south who's just struggling to feed their kids or whatever. That's one thing, right? Like, that's very real. And that's not even, there are multiple levels of this, right? There's that. And many of us in the global north and countries like America are, I would actually say, almost conditioned to not consider this on a daily basis and to not feel how lucky we are. And what I mean by that is that it's not that we need to be confronted with the vast social injustices of the world every single day. I don't necessarily believe that that's mentally healthy to try and, we don't have full control over where we're born. We don't have any control over where we're born. And we only have limited resources to try to help people in less fortunate circumstances than ourselves. And so I'm not trying to advocate for, waking up every day and saying, oh, I'm so glad I'm not in the global south right now, struggling to have clean water. And while that might be part of a gratitude practice, that's your choice. It's not something that I'm suggesting necessarily. However, going back to how in places like America, we're not taught to appreciate how lucky we are. We are presented these constant narratives of more and better and how to improve and how to have more money, how to make more money, how to be more productive, how to aspire to the next thing, and how to fit in, how to be cool, how to be somebody that's desirable. All these things tend to require purchasing stuff and aspiring to the next level, right? We can't just be happy in our starter home. We have to get the next home. Somebody brought that up at work actually the other day. We're doing negotiations at the moment, and the topic was that starter homes are becoming more and more unaffordable, and salaries need to reflect increase in living costs. But anyway, that's kind of not the point of this video. Going back to how my brain is cooked, I saw a video from the Financial Diet about this. I think it was something about being gaslighted by generational wealth. I'll try to link it up here if I can find it. Being gaslit? What's the correct version of that terminology? And so I saw that video and I found, like this book, that it related to my own mentalities on my own level of privilege and what I can and can't afford, or what I should and shouldn't be buying based on my own level of wealth, of resources, of social class. And I found a lot of mentalities in my own mind, baggage that I carry to unpack there, and why I believe what I believe. So clothing rentals is one of these things, right? That just feels like it's something rich people do, and I'm not one of those. So therefore I have this kind of natural opposition. I'm not rich enough to buy clothes that I don't keep, kind of thing. It's not strictly true, right? I could redistribute my wealth and make it happen, but there's just something in me that's really resistant to spending in that way or on consuming in this way. And it's not because it's more sustainable, right? Like, I want to be more sustainable, but I have the instinct and the impulse to say, no, I don't want new things. I want to be happy with what I have, because that's the thrifty, frugal way to do it. And that's me, right? I have to be thrifty and frugal. I also want to be, right? But have I just told myself that I want to be these things because I feel like I have to? Is it the chicken or the egg here? Like, am I proud to be frugal because I really value that? Or am I proud to be frugal because I had to be for a while legitimately, when I was growing up and as a young adult? And so it's better to be proud of your circumstances than hating life. What is it? And, in some ways, arguably being frugal, not consuming more than you need, is more sustainable for the planet. And that is a value that I will openly carry, right? Like, I don't have any opposition to taking care of the planet we live on. Like, that's a very clear and straightforward goal for me. There's no question about it in my mind. Like, there's no circumstance where trashing the planet is okay to me. And so I don't want to spend more money for the sake of feeling richer if it comes at the expense of sustainability, if that makes sense. So there are clear values in my life that are like, doesn't matter how rich I am, I'm not going to get to the point where I think it's okay to take private jets everywhere and trash the earth. Like, that's just not going to happen. Nor will I ever have that level of resources. But there are other things. My husband and I recently had kind of an argument about house cleaners recently, because that is something that he really gets stressed out about and has kind of a short tolerance for, or low tolerance for, as far as our house being messy. And unfortunately, it's an issue that I have a high tolerance for and also a low priority for. And, if I could be doing anything else or have a project that I'm working on, not even if I could be doing, we could always be doing something else. But if there's something I'm working on, it's very difficult for me to be aware of household tasks that are going to frustrate somebody else if they're not done. And I'm not talking about things like doing the dishes. I'm talking about like appliances being more or less spotless and things being daily maintained when there are people in the house that still make messes. And for me, it's easier sometimes to wait until the end of a day and then do it kind of in one go. But, people just operate differently. And so for me, if there's a project that I'm working on and it's also not the end of the day, I will tend to go prioritize the project, knowing I'll do some of these things later. And unfortunately, sometimes these things do pile up, and I'm only human, and some days either I'm out at work in the evening and come back late and just go to bed, or I forget to do things in the evening. And so whenever that happens, we do sometimes have conflict about the state of things. And we discussed whether we should or could or wanted to have a household cleaner. And my husband is, or was at the time, on the side of we should hire somebody to do a monthly or every 2 weeks clean. And I was strongly on the side of no way. Like, not just because we would really struggle to fit that in our budget legitimately. Like, we don't have that much extra floating around right now. And so that's actually why we haven't done it, because that's kind of irrefutable. But for me, there are multiple other reasons, right? Like, it's not just the money, it's I don't really like the thought of somebody else taking care of things that I feel like I should and want to take care of myself. And I also kind of want to have that example for the other people in my life of, we take care of our own house, we don't have more than we can manage, I guess is another part of that, where I'm not judging anybody out there who has this for themselves. It doesn't extend outside of myself, right? I think most of you will be able to empathize with that. There are judgments that we have for ourselves, on ourselves, that we wouldn't consider or dream of extending outwards, right? Like, I don't judge anybody who does clothing rentals or has a cleaner or any of the other things that I have personal baggage about. But it was interesting to unpack these narratives and see how much feeling not wealthy has had a part in how I feel about it. Or even, the narratives of having a clean house and that being a personal responsibility. Is that a narrative that I have because my family could never afford a cleaner? Would I still have it if I grew up differently? Or, would I not see the virtue in taking care of your own stuff if we had the excess funds to have that earlier in my life? And on top of that, how productive is it to keep those narratives, or some of those narratives? And again, these ones might not be the best examples because, well, maybe they are, but I'm unable to see that I would be better off if I let go of some of them. Like, I'm so deeply mired in some of these narratives that I can't even give you the opposing side, right? Like, I can't tell you that it's better to not take care of your own stuff because of XYZ, or, your house is your responsibility kind of thing. Like, I deeply hold that value because I've essentially told it to myself all my life, or had people tell me kind of versions of that. And so the things that we carry with us from how we grew up, I think, can have a huge impact on our consumer habits and how we make these choices, how what we believe shapes our decisions. And again, in the realms of overconsuming or fast fashion, like in this book, or even just kind of random online shopping, or how we clutter or declutter, or the things we keep around us, right? Like, these narratives run so deep. And that's kind of what this question brought up for me at this time. And so that's why I'm choosing to answer it here now today, or to talk about it here now today. I don't know that I gave a satisfactory answer, except for I will not be doing clothing rentals. These are all the reasons why. Yes, I have a lot of baggage. I am just a consumer or a member of American society that is therefore treated like a consumer and fed all these narratives and encouraged to shape my identity based on what I can afford or what I can't afford or what I think I can afford or what other people tell me we can afford. So anyway, now you tell me, what do you think about clothing rentals? Have you ever tried anything like Rent the Runway or Nuuly or Stitch Fix or any of the other rentals floating out there? Should I try one? I know I just told you why I probably won't, but maybe you can change my mind, or open my mind, rather. And that's one of the greatest gifts of this channel, honestly, is how your comments and your feedback really do open my mind. And with that, I will say bye for now, and see you in the next one.